Hello there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My names are George Ngugi, and this is the Throne Room Herald. I really appreciate the fact that you tune in to watch. Maybe it's your first time. I request that you subscribe, and I assure you, this that you'll be getting on this show will be wisdom for everyday living. Today, as always, we are talking about a topic that is from the very heart of God. No wonder we are called the Throne Room Herald. And I would like you to be attentive because I believe as you take a listen, we're just going to talk about 3 points about a particular key subject, and I assure you, you will be totally blessed. I wondered the other day, I actually am in the marketplace, and I wondered, like, how do I kind of bring God into the workplace? And how do the workplace fit into what I call my faith? It's an interesting topic. I work with Muslims, and I also work with Asians who are Hindu. I also work with a variety of Christians. We believe differently, but we all claim to be Christians. So, how do, in a way that I stand out, or not that I shine other people, but that I'm so firm? And the best example that I could find was in the man called Daniel. Daniel, actually, it's a book in the Bible, but I want to focus on this man, Daniel. There are many things we could talk about because it's a topic that we can talk about it every day. But I want to focus on something about Daniel. The Bible talks about it. And I feel that is still relevant to this day. The Bible says that Daniel had an excellent spirit. Well, every chapter has its angle, but I want to focus on a particular verse, that is verse number 4. And I read it, I have my notes down. It says, "So the governors and satraps, or also administrators, sought to find some charge against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could not find any charge or fault because he was faithful, nor was there any error or fault found in him." This is a big context, but just to make it short, Daniel had been appointed by another reigning regime because actually he served under 4 kings. Well, many scholars say 3 kings. I just call them 4. It's just my thinking because that's another longer story. Let me just focus on Daniel. But this particular time, Daniel was so distinguished because he was among the top hierarchy in terms of authority under the king. And even those who were under him or at par with him kind of like felt uneasy because somehow he simply was getting his work done on time. There was something about him that even they could eliminate him. I looked at that verse and I got so many things. But for the sake of time, and I know I don't want to spend all the time here, I just want to focus on the key things that I feel I can share with you guys. And if you look at it more, you can even find 10 more, 15 more. It doesn't matter. I just want to focus on these 3 for now. And I believe as I share what I saw in my own observation or in the revelation God allowed me to have, I believe it will bless your heart. Number 1 was he had an excellent spirit within him, or rather he had an excellent spirit within him. That is number 1. Wow, I'll have to define what excellence is, but I don't want to go into the dictionary part of it. I just want to focus on how I believe that about 3 points, and here they go. He could interpret dreams and visions, and I can assure you from chapter 1 to all the way to where we are right now, Daniel had gotten a chance to interpret dreams that were complex. Actually, at one time, a particular king called King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and he was mad and angry. He was also shocked and scared. But this is what he did. He demanded of his wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the enchanters, and all those kinds of people, including Daniel, to tell him what he dreamt and to interpret what he dreamt. Who can do that? How can you do that unless you are connected to like a power source, like God? And that's what Daniel did. He prayed to God, and God showed him the dream the king had dreamt, and he came and told the king in front of everyone and actually gave him the interpretation, and the king was mesmerized. Actually, he wanted people to come and do some incense in front of him, but Daniel said, no, it is God who did this. Well, and then he was gifted in administration. Wow. Anything this man touched flourished. I can't equate that with a supernatural, with a natural ability. It had to be supernatural. There are guys who can do so much, but there'll always be a flaw here and there. But the Bible says that these guys, when they looked at the matters of the kingdom, they could not find fault. We all know no man is perfect. There must have been a supernatural grace and ability that made him to be excellent at his work. Number three, he was spiritually disciplined to the extent that the former now, that is discipline, controlled what he ate. Yes. And how he carried himself and how he stood out. It was just a faith thing that just allowed him to be the way he was. I think it was just God's favor that when it came to a man, it became excellence. That's how I equate it. God's favor coming on you makes you excellent because of the way you work it out. Because you don't just sit there, oh, I'm favored. When you do what you're supposed to do and you do it well, and God's favor is on you, I'm telling you, people can look to the right, to the left, they can examine you with a microscope and they will not find a fault. Number 2 point about this verse is that Daniel was faithful. This we can talk about for a whole month, about faithfulness. But I want to focus on just what I saw regarding Daniel on faithfulness. Faithfulness to me is more of a character. It's who you are when no one is looking. That's what character really is all about. And that's what faithfulness is all about. Daniel was consistent and firm on his principles. The way he delivered yesterday, the excellent way, is the same way he delivered even the day he was in. And it was still the way he would be expected to deliver even in the time to come. That is just how faithful this man was. And then he was thorough and uncompromising. The Bible doesn't really say much about this, but I kind of see it in just the way he's described. You know, any man that is faithful, if you have an accountant that is faithful, I happen to deal with money, so I'm not saying that I'm the most faithful, but I can tell you, you may have one of those 2 days where you're like, hey, do I still have to go to do all this? I mean, I just be faithful for all these guys for nothing? But okay, I've not done anything wrong. I've just given an example. But Daniel handled a lot. Those are not the days that things were digitized, that a king could a county or this place. But Daniel still in all of that, in the record keeping, in whatever they did. These guys might have tried to trap him in a bribery cause or something. They must have tried to audit him in a way, maybe for a month or a week or something, and they still could not find any error. The way the documentation was done, and mind you, the kings in this time now, the Medes and Persians, they controlled a vast land which had a lot of resources. Those were other kingdoms they had conquered. So you can imagine, like, this land is bringing spices, we have gold over here, we have this over there, we have so much ongoing. But so long as Daniel was in charge of whatever he was in charge of, on what he did, he was thorough and uncompromising. And again, on the faithfulness part, this man was focused and forward thinking. And I see this was so much about him that it was even well beyond what his job description entailed. Are you like that? Are you faithful beyond your church? Are you faithful beyond the mosque you go, beyond the temple you go? Are you faithful beyond what you are given at your place of work? Are you faithful beyond what the client expects of you at the end of the day? Are you faithful to your wife? Not just when she's watching or because she's going to scroll through your phone if she has to. Are you faithful when no one is looking? How is your character? I guess only you can answer that question. I'll go on to the third point. This man, this is the anchor point. This man just loved God. And you know, love is not just spoken. Love is expressed. And love is expressed in various forms. But above all, love is shown. And this man, Daniel, showed how much he loved God. Point number one, point number two, just all come into this one point. It is just how he loved God. And I could write so many things, but I wrote these three. About his God, this was his power. So his soft-sided part. We can call it a weak point, a weak part. And this was where his life and heart was actually residing. No wonder when these men could not find anything on him, they said, unless we find it on the law of his God. In the country I'm from, they say, if you buy a car right off a showroom and you just drive a few meters and you meet a policeman, a traffic policeman, and he's determined to fight fault with that car, I bet you he will find it. The tires may be new, the body paint may be fresh, everything about the car may look sparkling, but he may look around and notice something you had not seen. Even the manufacturer probably never noticed it when they were inspecting it. It's just the same way when the devil really comes to accuse. Because the very thing you do for God, because God's standard is way up here, and they compare it to the standard or the law or the time because he lived under a certain law or the needs and passions. It contrasted, and when it contrasted, that is where the weakness, quote unquote, came about, and that's what they found. Things, yes, he had an excellent spirit, he was a faithful man, and he loved his God. So what about it? What can we learn? I wrote about 3 things and I'll just read them so that at least I finish. Excellence and faithfulness, number 1, are byproducts of something. And what is this something? It's a personal relationship with God. Number 2, I'm just reading them so that I just say exactly as I wrote them. When the above 2 are fought without much success, now excellence and faithfulness, I'm on number 2 right now, then your base support is exposed and becomes the prime target and therefore an immediate battleground. Yes, what you believe now, that is what the enemy comes after. Your enemies in this case could be colleagues, could be competitors in business, could be anyone. They want to find out what is this thing about you that makes you successful. How come the clients still come trooping to you? How come you get all the contracts? How come you're favored above us? They ask themselves that question, and they really come to investigate until they find out what is the. So point number 3 is the result of when you overcome whatever happens when they attack you is a promotion. Because mind you now, when they attack what you believe, they don't just attack you, they attack who you believe in. And if your authority is on, if your really belief is on someone like God, there's no way God can just watch it. Actually, before they come there, God already knows. And even God allows you to be tested so that even he can know, do you really love me? Do you really do those things because you believe in me? And the moment that those things shake you and he knows your capacity that you cannot handle beyond a certain point, then he steps in. And when he steps in, he uses your situation to promote you. To promote you in the eyes of those who you are accused to. That is just how God works. So, you, the marketplace, and God, how can you survive? I recommend pray to God to give you an excellent spirit, and then be faithful once the spirit is on you. And do not look to the right or left. Just obey your God. Don't be afraid. God will defend you. God is able to defend you. And I assure you, your life will never be the same again. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing. This is the Throne Room Herald. We are coming to you live, and we want you to know that there is wisdom for everyday living. Only if you look hard enough, God is willing to show you. Thank you once again for watching.